Hey everybody, Shane here, Shoebox Legends. Thanks for tuning in for another episode today. Gonna try to keep this one short and sweet. I've had very little time for the hobby of late, but I'm still participating. And as evidence of that, what we're gonna look at today are these half dozen graded baseball cards, all of which were picked up in the month of November. So I've really scaled back my purchasing, again, doing a lot of sales, condensing my collection down and trying to save up for a particular big card that I have my eye on, but I still want to participate in the hobby and did manage to grab these cards within the past month. So let's start off with a beautiful Topps 3D Mookie Betts. Check that one out. This is the image variation of the 2021 3D Betts. So I've talked about these cards a few times. Topps did this 3D program from 2018 through 2022, a 5-year stint. And certain players that I enjoy collecting, such as Mookie, I'm working on their 5-year run, their complete run of Topps 3D. But I did not have, prior to this, any of these image variations. This is my first one. So I had the standard 3D Mookie from 2021, and now I have the image variation in a beautiful PSA Fine 9. That went up at open auction and was able to win that for $27. So I think that's a really good price, at least for me as a Mookie collector, when you consider that, even a bulk submission with PSA right now, I think is around the $18 or $19 price point. So really, really happy with that. Sticking with the theme of current active MLB stars who just had really great seasons, landed another Bobby Witt Jr. Check this one out. This is the second year Bobby Witt Jr., so it's got the rookie cup on it. And it's the Topps Chrome Sapphire edition. And this is the gold numbered to 50. You can see the serial numbering is right on the front here, copy 17 of 50. I was able to pick up this same parallel of his 2024 card, maybe a couple months back over the summer. And when the opportunity presented itself to get the second year rookie cup, already graded again in a fine 9, at a price point that was just too good to pass up. I really, really believe in this player and his future in the league. I think 2024 was his season. He really arrived and had sneakily one of the best seasons of any player in baseball. He's just all around skilled in so many areas and exactly the type of player that I admire and enjoy cheering for. So pretty awesome to get that kind of important second year Sapphire. I love my golds numbered to 50. And again, that card, I feel like in the future, this is not the reason why I bought it, but I do feel like in the future that card is going to be worth, well over $100, and I'll be very grateful that I was able to land it at a price point that was just 2 figures here in 2024. Next up, this is a card that I already have, but it's an upgrade, and it's a really important card for my collection as well. From 2022 Topps Flagship, this is the black parallel of the Aaron Judge card. Now, I'll try not to go too far down the rabbit hole here. I've talked about this many times before. I've even done episodes dedicated to this, but I am forming a 62 card collection that pays tribute to the AL home run record. And of course, this is a big card for that collection, given that 2022 was the year that Aaron Judge broke the record, hit those 62 bombs. The black parallel was one of my favorites. And this popped up maybe 2-3 weeks ago in a PSA Fine 9. In case you haven't noticed, it's my favorite grade for modern cards. Love a PSA 9. And this was available also for under $100. And if you know anything about these parallels, and especially how tough of a grade they are, getting this in a 9, again, under $100, just like that Bobby Witt, I just couldn't pass it up, even with my attempted savings towards a big card here. I already have a copy of this, so those who have watched the channel frequently, you may remember I bought one of these on ComC about a year ago, sent it directly to PSA for grading. It looked really sharp to me, at least on my computer screen from what I could tell, and it came back a PSA 7.5, which again, on a card that's numbered this low and that's this desirable, these are numbered to 71. The black this year, that's not a problem, and I was really happy with the 7.5, but when this surfaced, for under $100, I just had to take the opportunity to upgrade to the 9, and this will be one of the 62 cards that'll be kind of a permanent resident in that AL home run record collection. And it also frees me up. This is one of the nice things about hobby longevity and kind of churning your collection over. But now that I have that 9, I can potentially use that 7.5 as trade bait, maybe with a hobby friend, or I could sell it. I feel like if I list that card on eBay, I could eventually probably get more for it than what I paid for the 9. So it gives me some flexibility going into the future with my collection. So now with those 3 active players out of the way, let's look at the other 3 cards which feature retired greats of the game and Hall of Famers in every case. And we're going to start with one from the 90s that is honestly one of my favorite pickups of 2024. You're going to think I'm crazy when you see it here, but check this out. Finally scored a graded version of the 1994 Super Nintendo Ken Griffey Jr. card. Now, the backstory here, for those that don't know, you would receive one of these cards included in your Ken Griffey Jr. baseball Super Nintendo game that you would purchase back in the day. And I can tell you that in 1994, I was a rabid video game fan. I would have been, somewhere around 11 or 12 years old at the time. We had a Super Nintendo, and I would be embarrassed if I was able to go back and calculate the sheer number of hours of my youth that I spent playing Ken Griffey Jr. Presents Major League Baseball. Might be my favorite sports video game of all time. At the time, this was pretty revolutionary. You could do complete seasons, simulated seasons with different teams, and it would track your statistics throughout the year. It was almost like a video game version of fantasy baseball. And as a young kid who loved video games, I was obsessed. I had this game shortly after release, and I had this card as well. I still have my raw copy to this day. But when this surfaced recently, this beautiful PSA 9 up at open auction, couple of copies went up actually, and I was able to secure one of them for just over $50. Really, really difficult card condition-wise, because if I recall, these were distributed just loosely in the box with the video game. They may have been in a small cellophane wrapper or something like that, but they just came loose in the video game box. And so a lot of them were prone to damage or got, corner issues or edge wear. So getting this in a PSA 9 is great. I looked it up a couple weeks ago. I forget offhand. I want to say there are maybe around 400 or 450 of these graded by PSA, and about half of them actually graded an 8 or lower. So for a card from 1994, this is a real challenge when it comes to condition. But for me, the ultimate reason I wanted this in my collection, this brings back so many memories and so much nostalgia of playing this video game back in that summer and really over the following year or two. Was a major part of my childhood and a major part of why I became as big a fan of baseball as I am today. So really pumped to have this. Immediately becomes arguably my favorite Ken Griffey Jr. card. And I don't care about numerical value. I probably have a couple that are more valuable than that from a dollar sense, but that's not the reason why I collect or the primary reason. The number one reason is nostalgia and memories. And for me, that card absolutely checks all of those boxes. So now let's get to the vintage. For those of you that are not into modern, thank you if you've been patient enough to stick it out through 8 minutes. But I got 2 whoppers here on the vintage front. And the first is a card that I have had my eye on for a number of years, but it's really, really tough to find it well centered. And finally, this copy surfaced, and I immediately snatched it up from the 1963 Topps release. This is the NL home run leaders from the season prior, 1962, in a PSA EX5. And you can see why I was drawn to this. Check out the centering on this card. Finally found my copy. I'm a big fan of these leaders cards in general. Really, really love them. I have a lot of them on both the modern and the vintage front. But this one in particular stands above most. As many of you know, it features 5 Hall of Fame players on the front. The great Hank Aaron and Willie Mays, 2 of the best ever to play the game, accompanied by Ernie Banks, Frank Robinson, members of the 500 Home Run Club, and then Orlando Cepeda as well. Just an incredible card. I love the floating heads. This one was graded a long, long time ago. You can tell by the flip. There's no lighthouse hologram or anything here. Super old card, doesn't even have the certification number for the card on the back. I mean, this is a card that was probably graded 12 to 15 years ago. And I know everybody talks about, and rightfully so, that grading has gotten more strict over time, but that doesn't mean that there weren't cards back in the day that were graded accurately or that look incredible. And I don't care that this wasn't an older flip. I had a save search for this card for about 2 years, and every time I would get a hit on it, the first thing that I would look at is the card and the centering, especially left to right, but also top to bottom. And I wouldn't even pay attention to the number on the flip. And just looking at the centering alone, you can eliminate 95 to 100% of these that you come across. So I'm actually relieved to finally have this in hand. Like all of the cards that we've looked at so far in the video, this was under $100 shipped to my door, and definitely an example to myself of why I should always exercise hobby patience and wait for the right copy, because they are out there and the cards will eventually find you. So this is my forever copy of the 1963 Topps NL Home Run Leaders, with apologies to Ken Griffey Jr. there. And then the last one here is a whopper from the 50s, the golden era of baseball. And it's a card that I was able to acquire because of all my recent condensing and sales that I've been making. I've been selling a ton of cards in the background here. While I have been busy and somewhat away from YouTube of late, I've still been working on my collection, and I've been spending really more time than ever organizing and selling cards. And I've sold many dozens of graded cards at this point. And while the majority of that money has been set to the side for a big card, I did make a slight diversion when this one popped up. And basically the way it worked out is the 2 Parkhurst hockey cards from the 1950s that I sold a week or 2 ago netted me the exact amount of money that this card came up for at a buy it now. And although I wasn't looking for this exact card specifically, this example was so striking to me, I just immediately purchased it. I didn't even look at comps. I knew all the other copies of this card that I had looked at paled in comparison to this one, and I wanted this. So check it out. My newest Larry Doby, the 1954 Topps issue. Look at this card. See if I can kind of get a close up here. I mean, this is an incredible, apologies for the glare, copy of this card. The centering is off the charts. The corners even look pretty good. I mean, there's no real obvious issues with the surface, no wrinkles, no creases, pinholes, no paper loss. There's no snow. The image of his face is so crystal clear. And again, the centering is what spoke to me on this one. I'm really, I've become even more of a stickler for that. I always have been to an extent, but this was the copy of this Doby card that I knew I wanted. Check out the back, clean as well, and well centered even on the back. I mean, really no issues. I would never in my wildest dreams want a better version of this card than the one I'm holding in my hands right now. I will never need to upgrade this or sell it for a better version. And instantly, this becomes maybe my favorite overall Doby. And it's a card that I wasn't even looking for, specifically a week or 2 ago. Just opportunity presented itself, had funds available due to the sales, and snatched this up. I'll have to double check, but if I recall, it was something like $208 at a buy it now. And while that's certainly a very significant purchase for me, and one that I might not always have the cash handy and available to make, had the funds from those sales and just instantly snatched it up. So there's my newest Larry Doby and the final of my 6 pickups from the month of November here. Really appreciate you stopping by to check out this video. Thank you for giving me almost 15 minutes of your time. I realize there's a ton of great content out there, and I certainly appreciate you devoting some of your time to mine. I'll be back soon with some more content, hopefully within the next few days. But until then, just keep enjoying the hobby, everybody. See ya.